Welcome to Great Mondays Radio. On today's episode, I am super excited to have Eric Corey Freed, who is the Director of Sustainability at one of the Earth's largest architecture firms, Canon Design. You could be more specific than that, but we're going to be talking about culture at these kinds of design firms, these architecture firms. So Corey, thank you, Eric Corey, thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us. Tell me a little bit about kind of where you are, what you do, and how culture plays into it.
So, well, first of all, thanks for having me, and thanks for letting me bully you to have me on as a guest to talk about this.
I invited you.
Oh, right. But I'm an architect, right? And first and foremost, I think I always go through the lens of that, right? I talk with my hands, I sketch a lot, I think in terms of creative problem solving. So kind of in my bones is I'm an architect first, but my entire career has been focused on sustainability. And so I'm director of sustainability Canon Design. And this is, as I tell everybody, I have the best job in the firm because I get to work with everybody. I get to work across all of the teams, all the offices, everybody, all the projects, everything. And my job is to make the projects better. And I couldn't do what I do well if I didn't have a whole track record of failure behind me of like working with creative teams, getting people motivated and excited, letting them trust me enough to join the team and get in front of the clients and facilitate those conversations. So in a very weird way, what I do now, which I try to make very fun and vibrant. It took a lot of work to make it look this easy, I guess.
So what I think I hear you saying, and you said kind of the magic word, which is trust. You are leaning heavily into relationships, building those relationships, building trust with your internal teams. It's almost your clients are your internal teams, and you have to be able to kind of jump in and out amongst those. Where I think that's interesting because I think that's actually more and more what work is going to be like for everybody, which is joining a team for 6 months, jumping off a team. And so I wonder if you can tell us what has like how have you been able to gain trust so quickly, or what is it that you do that enables you to kind of jump into a group, a different team at different times? What is that process, or what skills are you leaning on there?
So I joined Canon right at the beginning of 2020, technically the end of 2019, but January 2020, right? And then 3 months later, COVID happened. We're a firm of 1,200 people across all these different offices, and COVID was, oddly enough, a blessing in disguise for me because I was able to essentially set up one-on-one meetings with all the key people in the firm. And I did it very, very quickly. And I came to that not asking them for anything, not saying, please put me on your projects. I knew that wouldn't work. But instead, coming to them with an offer that, look, I can help you do your job better. I can make your projects better, and here's how. And I was very, it helps when you're sincere when you do that too. So I was very sincere about it because I truly believe that's what's happening. They're busy trying to get their projects designed and then bid and then built, and I'm there to make the projects better. So I'm really there to support them, and I take that role very, very seriously. And I think they could hear that conviction and sincerity in my voice. It also planted the seed in their mind that, well, the current projects I have might not be right, but the next one is. And so trust is the word that I always use to do that, where I would verbally say, look, I know you don't know me from anybody, but I'm asking you to trust me.
So you're explicitly making that ask.
Yeah, you had to, right? I had to be ultimately very transparent about, here's what I can do for you. Here's how I'm going to do it. Here's what I can do for the clients. And I'm asking you to trust me. And, I guess having all this gray hair paid off because they fortunately did. what's even more interesting is that the clients, you essentially have to go through that with the clients too. So first you're put on the project and you're helping either win the project or get the project launched or, kicked off. And then you have to kind of build that trust with the client. And
Mm.
some of these clients now, I've been working with on multiple projects over and over again, and it's been fantastic. But trust is the centerpiece of all of this. And this dates back to, you remember that book, Patrick Lencioni, Five Dysfunctions of a Team. Remember that book?
Yep. Yep.
So it wasn't until I had a very dysfunctional team and that I started realizing that I needed to look for a solution of how to overcome this. And
Mm.
that book was one of several books that really kind of clued it in. And I think his number one dysfunction is the absence of trust. So I have to do this with my sustainability teammates. I have to do it with my project mates and all of my colleagues across the entire firm, but then we also have to do it with the clients too. I'm asking them to try something that's never been done before. We're inventing a new prototype of a building. We're only going to build one of them, right? So trust is always kind of part of architecture anyway, but when it comes to sustainability and
Mm.
achieving certain goals around energy or carbon or health, it takes a bit of trust. And I think because I'm acknowledging that at the beginning and asking for it explicitly, I think that was the key.
What I picked up on from what you just said, one of the things is this: I'm not asking you for anything. I'm here to help. And to me, that's like that servant leadership ideology of like, how can I help you? I'm here to make you look good. Here to help your work get better. And I fear that many individual contributors or managers or organizational leaders don't approach it in that way. That they are, hey, do this for me, when it's really should be, how can I help you succeed? There's something about that just sparked for me like a realization around the power of that in service of building that trust. Does that resonate? Does that sound like the what's happening?
Yeah, not only does it resonate, I mean, that's exactly what I was consciously and continue to consciously do, right? I say it every day, right? I'm here to serve you. When we have new people join the firm, I do a new hire orientation for the entire firm. So all the new people that join, when senior people join, I reach out to them directly to set up one-on-ones with them. The very first thing I say to all of these folks is, I work for you. I'm your sustainability director, right? And so there's a certain humility there that's made possible, right? Because I'm making myself vulnerable deliberately in order to gain their trust. Now, granted, I'm manipulating the hell out of everybody, right? Because I want them to trust me. So so it's very Machiavellian in a certain sense, but I'm doing it for the greater good, right? I'm doing it to build greener, healthier buildings. So yes, it's I'm very strategic in gaining their trust, but I'm also very sincere in gaining their trust. And I think that combination is what helps. If I was if I was like head of IT or something, I don't know. I don't know if that ploy would work as
Well,
well.
I think the head of IT would say, I'm here to help you, so probably they believe that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they would look at you and say, you have the best job or I have the best job in the firm. In any case, I think what is interesting, and I think there's going to be more in the future, we're going to have more organizations become more modular. And I think that an architecture firm is a great model to look at because, like you said, you have a project life cycle and you're going to build one of them and you have a team. And maybe these teams are more frequently interacting and maybe they're not. They kind of disband and come together. And so I think what our conversation is revealing, for me at least, is some new, like a new skill set that we're all going to have to learn, which is, how do we start trusting each other more quickly? How do we establish the rules? Because in the future, we're not going to have like these teams that have worked together for 10, 15, 20 years. It's just not like that. And that's, to me, I think, what we're going to see, either people succeed or fail depending on how they build that. So I don't know. So I don't know, reflect on that. I mean, is that I don't know, that just occurred to me. I don't even have a question for you. It's just something
No,
that
but what you're saying makes total sense, right? First of all, Canon Design is a 110 plus year old firm, right? So there's a certain breadth of longevity, I think, that we all have by having this kind of old
Yeah.
school firm.
Yeah.
And of course, all the original founders are long gone. So, and the way the firm is designed, it was deliberately designed so you can pick and choose the best talent from anywhere. You're not limited to the only people from the LA office or only people from the Chicago office. We don't do any of that stuff. And so I have a firm-wide role, right? I get to serve everybody across the firm, so I can be part of your selection, right? Of like, oh, let's sprinkle a little Eric on there for sustainability, and we'll sprinkle a little Bob on here, and a little Susan on there, and a little Jill on there, right? Where so we're used to working these very modular teams that we put together. Now, some of these teams, we like each other so much that anytime we go for a cancer center, for example, it's pretty much now we're pulling together the same buckets of talent. Anytime we go for a behavioral health center or a university building or an office, right? Now, the trick that I wanted to play, and I keep pulling it off, is that I want to make sure that I'm on every team. So, in the one sense, that's great, right? And I built a whole sustainability team of really talented folks to help scale this idea. So we're on every project now. But the bad side of that is, holy smokes, we're in every project now. Like now, how do you scale that? So I entered the company knowing that I had to engage them in a change management strategy. I knew that I had to essentially embed sustainability into every part of the process.
A
And to
new
do
way
that,
of working.
yes, a new way of working and changing how they work. And some people are not immediately open to doing that.
Of
And then
course. Of course.
once I gained their trust and they saw the results, that we were winning work because of our sustainability story, we were delivering better projects because of our sustainability story. That was the first stage. The second stage was then scaling the team, which I spent the last 3 years doing. And now this third stage is scaling impact, right? Like, how do we go after bigger and better projects? And that's what we're in the middle of now. And we're doing, design the future of the cancer center for University of Chicago, design the future of a cancer center high rise for Memorial Sloan Kettering, design the future of labs for the leading laboratories in the country. Like, we're now at that point of scaling the impact where sustainability is not just sprinkled in, but really kind of woven in and baked in from the outset and driving the design. But it's all been a change management strategy, from day one in order to change this, 110-year-old firm that in some way was very kind of comfortable in its own skin. And how do we really push them?
Yeah. That's so compelling. It's so interesting. When you were, I want to jump back to phase 2, when you were scaling your team, when you were hiring, are there any lessons to learn, anything that you could share with someone who is scaling a team, not necessarily obviously in architecture, but if they're building a team from the ground up, if they're scaling their team, when you think about how you did it, what did you do right? What did you do wrong? What did you learn from that?
Well, I think I probably did a lot wrong. So over the years, I've gotten to hire a lot of people, and I think at first, when I was younger, I hired people that I liked.
Yes.
And that's a mistake, right? You'll learn to like everybody you work with anyway, right? And I like everybody. So what's the difference? Why am I only hiring people I like? So that's number one. And then number two, you start to look at as people as resources. We need somebody with X. Let's go find somebody with X and plug them in. Well, that doesn't work either, because there's a cultural fit that needs to happen. And so now the process that we have is pretty lengthy, oddly enough. But it's lengthy because I'm very protective of this group that I've built, right? So we've got, we started with 0 sustainability people, and now we're, then me, and then one other, and then now we're up to 13 and growing. But I'm very protective of them. I tell them regularly, to the point of absurdity. I'm like, if you're even thinking of leaving, I want to know, because it means that I've failed you, right? I failed to keep you engaged and motivated and inspired. I mean, it shouldn't even occur to you to want to leave. People don't leave because of money. They say that's the reason, but it's not. They leave because they're being poorly managed. They're being uninspired. They don't like their teams that they're working with, right? They don't like the work they're doing. That's why people leave. And so if they're even thinking of it, I tell them this all the time. I want to know it, because it means that I failed them, and I take that very seriously as well. And so the same thing is true with hiring. If we're hiring people, they need to have a voice in this. So if you want to join our team, you eventually have to meet everybody, and go through at least a chemistry test, right? So
you're saying that they have to do 13 hiring interviews before they're brought
no,
on?
God, no, not yet, but it's
That
getting
doesn't
there,
sound
which
scalable.
it's not scalable. But basically with the key group you're going to be working with, yes. So if you're going to be working with the building performance team, those three, you'll have one extra meeting with them all at once. And they're a tough crowd, man. Like they know their stuff.
Mhm.
But if they give me the thumbs down, they know that I'll trust them. Again, there's that word again, right? I think, I try to create this culture where nobody's getting micromanaged. Instead, it follows this kind of old vision of, look, I'm not going to teach you. It's an Antoine Exupéry quote from The Little Prince. In it, and I'm paraphrasing. In it, the quote is, "If you want to teach people how to build a ship, don't show them how to cut wood and hammer nails, but instead instill in them this vast longing for the endlessness of the sea." And so that's what I'm after. Everybody in our group, in the sustainability group, is passionate about sustainability. That's what they have in common. And they all have different skill sets and different abilities, but all of them know that that they are valued. All of them know that they are trusted. All of them know that if I throw them the ball, I expect them to catch it. And if they need anything, I will tell me what's in your way, and I will clear the path to get to it. Which really came from Simon Sinek. Well, all of it start with why, and leaders eat last, and all that stuff. But it's all based on that, right? So I want to create this thing where they feel empowered and trusted. All of them are subject matter experts, and all of them should feel empowered to do that. So if they want to get into writing or thought leadership or speaking or presenting or facilitating or workshopping, whatever skill they want to build, even if they have none, then I want to know that, and then we'll get them on the track to do that. They have to feel empowered all the time.
So has anybody left your team and you learned something from that? You feel like you failed them and then made that adjustment?
Yeah, there were two that were and they'll probably listen to this. so if you're listening, hi. But there were two that were friends before, and one of them wanted to come on board and was hounding me about it. And I said, look, I don't know if you're the right fit, and I should have listened to my gut. As smart and talented as they were, I deep down knew they weren't the right fit. They lasted, I think, 7 months, and they said, I'm not happy. And then I ended up giving them a recommendation for their job that they're currently in. So I mean, it ended up working out, but I could have saved everybody a lot of time. That was one. The second one was another friend who was unhappy, but was afraid to communicate with me because of our friendship.
Yeah.
And then when he left, he didn't know how to do it. And he was just young and immature. And so did it just with this like mass email and it just completely blindsided me. And again, I took it as a failure. Like, how did I fail you? And it was because we were so close as friends that he was very reluctant to tell me anything, right? So that was a different type of trust. And I'm still upset about it. But we're still friends. I mean, that's the good news. But it's just a disappointment because he was a great fit at the firm, but wasn't getting empowered to do the type of work that he wanted to do, and didn't know how to communicate that well. And I didn't know to look for it.
Wow. Well, thank you. I appreciate you being open enough to share some of those with
Well,
us.
there's so many failures. It's easy to talk about the failures because there's so many of them. You know, the successes I'm more bashful about.
All right. Well, we're almost at the end. What would you say is the for managers or leaders who are growing their teams, who want to think about this kind of modular approach or just building that team like you have? Do you have any like words of wisdom, parting thoughts? Like what maybe tips or tricks? I don't know. Yeah, giving you a whole bunch of options here to kind of finish up, put a button on this.
Well, in a certain sense, there's a word that we haven't said yet. And I know it's a word that gets overused, but the word is innovation, right? I feel that we are in the innovation business. We're in the creative problem solving innovation business. And
Yes.
you can't, just as you can't plan to be spontaneous, right? Hey, let's plan for next Tuesday to be spontaneous. Right? That doesn't work. You also just can't force innovation. You have to create the right conditions for it to happen. And part of that is letting people wander, right? Letting them wonder and switching your mindset from a why to a what if. And so everybody on the sustainability team is almost to a fault very much on the, well, what if we do this? And what if we were to do that? And what if we were to get net zero energy? And what if we could do a zero carbon building? And what if this was the healthiest building that this client has ever done? What if, right? As opposed to why, why would we do that? And that enthusiasm becomes contagious. It spreads to the rest of the project team within Canon Design, but then it also spreads to the client. And I always know that you have a great thing going when the client is like stumbling over their words and as excited as you are, right, in the room, when you're kind of wondering, well, what if this and what if that and what about this and what about that, So my advice is make sure you create the right conditions for innovation to happen. All of you should be thinking of yourself as in the innovation business, whether you realize it or not, right? We're designing cutting edge buildings, so we kind of have to be. But even if you're designing coat hangers, if you don't innovate, you'll die. I always think of that stat, and Josh, you probably know it better than I do, but if you took the Fortune, the S&P 500 from 50 years ago, something like 77% of them are gone now.
Gone.
Right?
Yep.
Because they failed to innovate. So innovation is like breathing. You have to constantly be doing it, right?
It's hard, but it's hard. It's harder than breathing.
Oh yeah, it takes work, but it's to me it's fun. So we do it internally for the firm. So how do we look at the next 100 years? We do it for our clients, but we're actively doing it. And some people hear the word innovation and just think, oh, that's expensive. No, what's expensive is going out of business because you failed to innovate.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's
exactly,
expensive.
the risk.
Right.
Awesome. Eric Corey-Freed, Director of Sustainability at Canon Design. If you want to learn more about his work, go to canondesign.com, CANNONDESIGN.com. Thank you so much for coming on Great Mondays Radio and sharing your wisdom. It was a pleasure. And I learned a lot. So thanks so much.
Wow, that was part of my goal. So thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And I look forward to listening to future episodes too.